I'd like to tell you a story about a man whose legal name is George E. Inscho Jr. I'm not sure that many people, if any, referred to him as Junior, but I am sure that many people called him Mr. Inscho and said it with great respect. In case you didn't know this, George graduated from Geneva High School in 1941. After graduation, he worked for 2 years shipping golf shafts for True Temper, and his first full-time job was serving as a clerk for Chamberlain Clothing Store on North Broadway in Geneva. Maybe that's why, after all these years, he still is quite dapper. Look at him. Many young men at that time were enlisting in the armed forces to serve in World War II. George was stricken with rheumatic fever when he was 10 and spent 2 years recovering. As a result, the fever took its toll and he was declared 4F, physically unfit for the military duty. The military's loss probably is what became our win. He really never intended to go to college, but with the encouragement of several teachers and a not-so-wonderful job, George enrolled at Kent State. In order to make ends meet his freshman year, he worked as a houseboy in a sorority house. Are you getting the picture? He took care of the furnace, served dinners, and washed dishes for $5 a week plus dinners. George said, "The best part of all was that I worked with a different girl every night. It was a good way to meet people." We take it that Barbara wasn't in the picture then. Following graduation from Kent State, he began teaching in Perry in 1947. After 5 years, he came to Riverside in '52 to teach social studies, which he did for 3 years before he became principal in '55. He became the assistant superintendent of the district in '67, and then the superintendent in 1974. In 1978, he was named superintendent of the Lake County Educational Service Center, of which our district is a part, and held that position until his retirement in 1989. He even served as interim superintendent for the district for a half year in 1993. To date, George is the only person to start as a teacher in this district and finish as the superintendent. During his tenure as assistant superintendent and superintendent for the Riverside Local School District, many changes were taking place. The district was in a big population boom. As the assistant's position was not as specialized as it is today, it was a little more difficult back then. That person had to be ready to go anywhere and handle any situation. George's office door was always open to residents, employees, and students alike. He would listen and consider all options before he replied. You knew he sincerely cared about what you were saying. One administrator even said, though George may have told you no, you came out of that office with a smile. He would attend many of the school activities, and many times the teachers involved would receive handwritten notes congratulating and thanking them for their parts in those activities. And I believe I still have a few of those notes at home. Even today, he still acknowledges other people's achievements or successes with personal notes, and he still attends class reunions when asked. Retirement from the education field may have happened in 1989, but George chose to remain active. As he put it, he had the best part-time, full-time job he knew, executive director of the Painesville Area Chamber of Commerce. For 7 years, he served his community in this role. Now that's what George did for a living, but along with his jobs came other things. Early in his career, he was named a John Hay Fellow in the Humanities by the John Hay Whitney Foundation. In 1997, he was inducted into the Riverside Hall of Fame. In 1999, the Riverside Excellence for Education Foundation established the George E. Inscho Jr. Scholarship Fund in honor of the many years of outstanding service to our schools and community. A scholarship is awarded annually to a graduating senior who plans to major in the field of education at a 4-year college or university. In 2002, George was the recipient of the Citizen of the Year by the Painesville Area Chamber of Commerce. He has been or continues to be involved in Painesville Rotary, a past president, where he was named a Paul Harris Fellow twice, the Adult Basic Literacy Education Advisory Board, the Board of Directors for Lake Hospital System, and a driver for Meals on Wheels. He has served on the Tech Prep Governing Board and the Strategic Planning Committee for Riverside Schools. He is a Mason with the Temple Lodge in Painesville, a member of the Scottish Rite Valley of Cleveland, and a member of the Shrine of Al Quran Temple. I'm sure there are even more activities, but you get the picture. George even found time for a hobby. While in high school and college, he played the drums in the band. Where he found the extra time, who knows, but he played in as many as 5 dance bands as the years passed. We probably know him best as a drummer in the Concord Community Band. He played along with many of his former students and colleagues. Through all of this, George has continued with a wonderful family life. He and Barbara have been married over 65 years, and most of that time has been spent here in their home in Painesville Township. They have 4 children, Doug, Debbie, Greg, and Ken, all of whom graduated from Riverside and all of whom are here tonight, along with 4 of the grandchildren and the little cheerleaders, 4 of the great-grandchildren. And as a little tidbit, come October 1st, George will turn 95 years old.
Houdini couldn't follow that. George has spent over 37 years of service to the Riverside Local School District, including the Lake County Educational Service Center. He did not end there with that service. He has always promoted this school district.
Thank you.
When the Alumni Association was rejuvenated 3 years ago, George came too. He provided insight, encouragement, and the voice of reason. The Alumni Association thought it was time George was recognized for all his contributions. So we asked the school board to consider naming one of the district venues in his honor. The board listened and agreed, so by official decree, or official resolution, they have chosen to have the district's board meeting room dedicated to George. Although the superintendent's office is in the back corner of the board office, it's the meeting room where all the resolutions are passed. Everything has to be approved in the board meetings. So it is fitting that this room be named after the man who has served as superintendent and done so with honor, sincerity, integrity, as a token of our appreciation for those years of service and dedication to the schools and the students and schools. The room will be now known as the George E. Inscho Conference Room. Be sure to stop by today when you're done with the induction ceremony. It's room 101. For those who don't know where it's at, it's in the far back corner right across from the school board office. There's a lovely plaque in there. We've had the room redone. There's a dedication name plaque on the outside. Please stop by and take a look. We're very proud of the room, and we're also very proud of its namesake. Mr. Jim Kalis, Superintendent of the Riverside Local School District.
Thank you, Bill. When I was asked to speak tonight, I thought, what can I say about George? You know, I could speak of your intelligence. I could speak or compliment you on your integrity, and I could applaud your humor. I could also revel in the commitment that you have for the Riverside Local School District and community, but by doing so, I would be stating the obvious. Historically speaking, no one can deny that you have had the most significant impact on the Riverside Local School District. This isn't simply accomplished by serving as an educator for 37 years, because you did not stop on your 38th year. Instead, you continued to be an advocate, a cheerleader, a true friend of the district. It really isn't 38 years, George. It's more like 64, and I had to use a calculator to figure it out. And we're still counting as well. George stops by my office quite a bit. Anytime there's a reunion, he's getting the old yearbooks and taking a look at them, and he has a sharp memory, I'll tell you. 38 years as an educator, 64 years and still counting. That's only a few years less than the time the district has been in existence. You are a champion in my book, and it is great pride that I announce that on behalf of the Riverside Board of Education, its staff and students, we are certainly thrilled to rename our newly renovated board conference room the George E. Inscho Conference Room in your honor. Thank you for all you've done for us. Mr. Thomas Hack, one of our board members and a 1982 alumnus, would like to recite a board resolution that was placed on our August 23rd board agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Kalis. The resolution reads as follows. The George E. Inscho Jr. Conference Room. Whereas George Inscho has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to the students of the Riverside Local School District, and whereas George Inscho has earned the respect and gratitude of students, parents, teachers, administrators, the board members, and community for his tireless efforts to ensure that the students receive the best education possible, and whereas George Inscho has enhanced the image and the reputation of the Riverside Local School District through his service as a teacher, high school principal, and superintendent for both the Riverside Local School District and the Lake County Schools. Therefore, be it resolved that the Riverside Local Board of Education hereby renames the board conference room to the George E. Inscho Jr. Conference Room on this day, August 23rd, 2016. Signed by all board members, including our president, Jennifer Harden, Jack Miley, our vice president, Belinda Grassi, Steve Jeffries, and myself. So, Mr. Inscho, congratulations.
Barb, I'll bet he wears that tonight. George, we have one more thing that we'd like to give to you. On behalf of the Riverside Alumni Association, and one of our local artists, Sue Chafee. Sue took it upon herself to draw likenesses of little different scenes around the school campus. This happens to be one of the colored renderings. We have black and white ones, by the way, for sale. This is not a commercial. But George, again, in behalf of the Riverside Alumni Association, we'd like you to have this and hang it somewhere of honor in your house, just to remember the school campus as it was and as it is today. It's almost over, people. Okay, George, we're going to give you an opportunity to say a few words if you wish.
Well, let's try standing up. Can you plug that thing in?
You want it on the stand?
If you can.
I can. I can just move the stand to the side if you don't mind standing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I assume that Well, let me back up. I guess the book of instruction says never start a speech with an apology. But I'm going to do that in this sense of the word. You've noticed how bent and bowed I've become in the later years. Well, that's what happens to you when you're the world's oldest living beaver. You know, a man has only a few options in terms of ways of telling a woman he loves them. I'm in somewhat of a similar situation in that I have only a few options in terms of trying to express adequately, appropriately, my thanks for what's been going on here. But I would like to thank, with my deepest feelings, thanks to the Alumni Association and the Board of Education. I deeply appreciate everything that's been said. I have another confession to make too. Over the last week, I probably put together 4 or 5 sets of remarks for this occasion. The problem was, the next morning when I woke up, I couldn't remember a single word of it. So, folks, I'm just winging this thing. Well, anyway, when I was advised that this event was going to take place, I was truly surprised, because I had told Barbara years ago that this sort of thing would never happen to me or us because they couldn't spell it or they couldn't pronounce it. But I was glad to be wrong. Well, here we are again. You know, and Woody, some of you are old enough to remember Woody Hayes. No, I want to back up. You know, some people in my position make the comment they wish their parents could be here. Well, that would be nice. But I'll tell you the guy I wish was here, my high school principal. Because he told me I would never get a job. When he found out I was majoring in education to teach history, he said, history teachers are a dime a dozen. You'll never get a job. Well, little did he, the poor guy died before I graduated, so he never got to see the other part of it. And plus the fact that, as you heard earlier, I had the second best job of my career right at the time he was telling me that, when I was the houseboy at the sorority house. The pay wasn't great, but the fringe benefits were terrific. Okay, some of you are old enough to remember Woody Hayes. Woody Hayes, early in his career, wrote a book titled You Win with People, and that is certainly the case. The rest of what I want to talk about is, I want you to know that I know that whatever success I enjoyed in those positions could not have happened without the help and benefit of some top talented assistants. People like Dennis Watson. Denny and I worked together for 12 years. We were the opposite of the odd couple. Two guys who thought alike about just about everything, I guess. Okay, in addition to Denny, Bob Thomas as elementary assistant when I was superintendent, the late John DeLong, who was secondary assistant, and at the county office, again, Denny Watson and Nancy Reynolds, those people ensured that the district was in good hands. Another group that must be recognized, and I tell every class reunion this, the reason Riverside District is a great school district, and Riverside was a great high school, was not due to the principal or the superintendent. It was due to the great faculty, and it still is true today. There's one, this just occurs to me, there's 2 or 3 groups who do not get enough recognition in this school district, any school district. The bus drivers, the secretaries, and the maintenance people. Without them, it wouldn't work. Well, anyway, there's one more individual who deserves some tribute in relationship to as an assistant, and I'm speaking of wife Barbara. Without Barbara's help, I wouldn't have been as successful as I was. While I was involved in all those positions you heard about, she was managing a house, a home, 4 kids, and teaching a full schedule in the public schools, and along the way, getting inducted to the Perry High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Without her, it wouldn't have worked. So I want to pay tribute to her as well. So anyway, hang on, there's only another minute or 2. Let's see. Damn, I can't see. Well, what was it? Here. Some of you have heard me say that the greatest 3 things in life are family, friends, and a job you enjoy. I've been blessed in all 3 areas, and I thank God for that. So, congratulations to the Hall of Famers that are going to be inducted tonight. Good luck. You earned the right to be inducted. Thank you for being here and coming to see me. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, George. You are truly one of a kind.